All right, for the next little bit, we're going to talk about pre-installation. Now, this has to do with the testing of bolts. So prior to the start of a project, a minimum of 3 bolts of each diameter, length, grade, and lot to be used has to be checked in a tension calibration device, also called a Skidmore-Wilhelm device. And these devices can be bolted to the side of a column, bolted to the side of a beam, a work table, and you then take a representative sampling of each of the bolts. Now, we've talked about this before. When a bolt comes to you, or when the bolts come to you, they come to you in a barrel. And for example, on the side of the barrel, it will say 3/4 by 1.75 inches, 3/4 by 2, 3/4 by 2 1/4 on the side. And then each of the barrels will have a lot number written on it. So it will be lot number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, lot number 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, lot number 5, 8, 7, 8, 9. All right, so that's something that you need to pay attention to because it's going to make a difference as to how many bolts you test. For example, if you have 4 barrels of bolts, 2 of those barrels are 3/4 by 2s. If the lot number is the same, then you don't have to test more than 3 out of one of those barrels. However, if the lot numbers are different, so the first 3/4 by 2 is lot number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The second lot number is lot number 2, 6, 7, 8, 4. Then you need to test 3 bolts out of the first barrel, 3 bolts out of the second barrel. Now, all of the other barrels, say the 3/4 by 1.75 inches, 3/4 by 2 1/4, if you have 1 barrel of each of those, then you're going to end up testing 3 out of each barrel. The only time that that's going to change is if, for example, you open the first barrel and it's 1 lot number, the second barrel has the same lot number, but the second barrel looks different. The surface appearance is different, something visually wrong with perhaps what you're seeing, or not the same as the first barrel. So then you're going to test that barrel as well, because upon visual examination, the appearance is different. When you get ready to actually start the testing, the Skidmore-Wilhelm device has a series of plates. The plates go front and back, and they each are matched so that for a particular kind of bolt that you're putting in, you have to use the correct plates that go with that. Now, when you get ready to test, I'll just give you an example. If you, for example, are taking a bolt like this, and you take 3 of those bolts, and you put the first one in, then you tighten the nut on. And then what you do is you're going to start with snug tight. Now, snug tight is this. When you take a wrench, you tighten the nut on. And the definition of snug tight is that you have tightened the nut on sufficiently that you cannot remove it with your fingers. So you've tightened it on with a wrench. This is the definition of snug tight. You've tightened it on with a wrench sufficiently that you cannot remove it with your fingers. Now, once you get it snug tight, that's where you start. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look at the chart. Now, there's a chart that we have, and we'll give you that chart for when you're testing. And say, for example, you're testing 3/4 inch bolts. Well, A325 3/4 inch bolts need to be tested to 29,000 kips, which is what the reads on the Skidmore-Wilhelm device. So then, what you do is you start with snug tight, and then you crank around with your wrench until that reaches a reading of 29 kips on the dial. Now you do that 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and then you've tested those 3 bolts out of that 1 barrel. Then we'll have a book, and in the book they will ask for specific pieces of information that you will then fill out, so that by the time you're done with all of the representative samplings of all of these pieces that you've been testing, you can then keep record of that, and that will go into the job file. So that's all we're going to talk about for the minute.